Topping today's news, 2 men shot to death during a home invasion last night. The Minister of National Security talks crime at the weekly OPM press briefing. We hear more from the Free National Movement chairman on their latest candidate reveals and the latest on the Junkanoo saga surrounding the new Junkanoo Authority. This is your JCN Evening News. I'm Jcn Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us. 2 men are dead today after they were shot last night during a home invasion. Police say it happened shortly after 10 p.m. in the area of Johnson Alley, which is about 200 feet east of the Wolf Road Police Station near a popular food takeaway. Officers went to a house located on that street and found the men suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. Police Press Liaison Officer Sharia King shared the following details early into their investigation.
What we have learned thus far in our preliminary investigation is that the suspect, males, were masked, entered the residence, opened fire on the 2 victims, fatally wounding them. The victims, one is in his early 30s, the other is in his early 40s. We are asking, as we have been asking the public to assist us in matters such as these, that if you have any information, no matter how small it is, to contact us.
Asked if they have identified a motive and if the victims were known to the police, Sharia King, the Police Press Liaison Officer, shared the following.
We are early in the investigation, so we're still investigating those. But what we can say is that one was electronically monitored for a serious offense. I can't name the offense at this time.
Superintendent King revealed that in addition to the 2 victims, there were other people in that home. She could not say, though, if any of those people were injured in the terrifying ordeal. These killings now mark the 59th and 60th murder for the year. There were 86 murders on record as of September 5th, 2024. National Security Minister Wayne Munro says the government has strengthened the country's legal framework to deal with gangs and illegal firearms. Speaking at the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing today, he pointed to the Anti-Gang Act as one of the key measures to help reduce the high rate of violent crimes.
The public would note that the Anti-Gang Act increased penalties for firearms used in gang-related circumstances, and the public would also be aware that the length of sentences is a matter for the independent judicial branch of government and not the executive branch or legislative branch of government. They pledge to stop abuse of bail by prioritizing appealing and suitable releases in court, improving supervision and protection where bail is granted, and to consider further reform of the Bail Act, including mandatory conditions. The public would be aware that this administration amended the Bail Act to crack down on persons breaching conditions of bail. The public would also be aware from reports that that has been vigorously pursued by the police and prosecution authorities. The public should also be made aware that the previous FNM administration made the Director of Public Prosecution an independent entity to be charged with matters of prosecutions before the court, and so that office will determine which matters are appealed, and that is again a matter for that office. They pledge to break the cycle by expanding rehabilitation and skills training and job placement for low security prisoners, partner with employers to secure work on release, separate first-time youth offenders, support integration, and strengthen services for victims with substantial support for survivors of sexual violence. We're pleased that the opposition endorses the steps taken by this administration in expanding the work release program for persons in custody for expanding the work opportunities for persons who aren't on the work release program being supervised by correctional officers. We're pleased that they support that, and we would in fact announce that it is to be further expanded as Inmate Industries is brought online. We're pleased that the FNM endorses the separation of first-time youth offenders. For the first time in this country's history, there is a separate male juvenile detention facility at BDOCS. There will be completed shortly the separate female juvenile detention facility for young ladies at BDOCS. That is projected to be completed before the end of this year. We encourage that the opposition approves of these steps taken by this administration.
Mr. Monroe also reminded the public that the Firearms Act is being updated to confront new threats.
The Firearms Act is being modernized for other purposes, as well as prohibiting and seeking to control the components of firearms and 3D printers used to print 3D guns.
The National Security Minister stressed that the Davis administration remains serious about tackling crime on all fronts, from prevention and prosecution to punishment and rehabilitation. The Free National Movement has now ratified some 24 candidates ahead of the 2026 general elections, with 7 candidates launched last Thursday. While appearing as guest on JCN's TV talk show, Jones & Co. with host Christian Jones, Free National Movement Chairman Dr. Dwayne Sands spoke of the public's reaction and the quality of their new candidates.
So we're, about 60+% of the way there. Young people, check. Women, check. People from different backgrounds, check. So a diverse group of persons, all of whom have a common theme, and that is a willingness to work for Bahamians, work for the Bahamas. We wanted to make sure that nobody could say that there was not careful thought to the selection process. And the choices in Tall Pines, in Killarney, in Freetown, in Seabreeze, there's conversation. Southern Shores. I think we have a very, very diverse team, and we look forward to the opportunity to serve the Bahamian public.
Now, there were a number of aspiring candidates that did not receive the FNM nomination for their desired constituency, and while some took it well, others like Andrew Blue Johnson for Freetown publicly expressed his displeasure with the FNM's decision, and he protested during the candidate reveal last week, Thursday. The Free National Movement chairman had this to say about those who were not selected.
You could sense there was a feeling of electricity, excitement, also some disappointment. We had an aspiring candidate from Freetown who did not make it. And we made it very clear that he and his supporters were welcome at last night's event. It was a peaceful demonstration, and I think what we say to him and to his supporters is this is a big tent. And while he may not have gotten the role that he was seeking, at least at this time, doesn't necessarily mean that there's no room for him. But as of today, there's only 39 seats. And so by definition, more people were disappointed than will be nominated. Now, some of those persons who have been disappointed have been very disappointed and say, well, I taken my marbles and I'm going home. Others have said, hey, I understand. I am still willing to serve my country and my party, and if there's something else for me to do, just let me know.
Similar to the Progressive Liberal Party, Dr. Sands said the Free National Movement had an oversubscription of more than 100 people that applied to be candidates. Still to be ratified for the Free National Movement, party leader Michael Pintard, who is the incumbent for Marco City, deputy leader Shannon Dawn Cartwright, the incumbent for St. Barnabas, and Dr. Dwayne Sands, who once had his eye on Elizabeth but is rumored now to be eyeing another constituency. And finally, in this segment, just over 4 months before the country's biggest Junkanoo parades, the Boxing Day and New Year's Day parades, they're set to take place, and there's still uncertainty of what role the Junkanoo Corporation of New Providence, the JCNP, and its members will play in the proposed new Junkanoo Authority that has been presented for public consultation and received with mixed reviews. Some are skeptical, while others fully endorse the idea. After several canceled meetings, and it is reported that the JCNP will now meet with the government to get a better understanding and to share their recommendations for the authority. Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Mario Boleg, gives an update on where things stand as of today.
And so we'll meet with them next week to accept their recommendations and review it and then make a decision going forward. As you know, we have already adjusted the bill since we last made it public based on the recommendation from the public consultation we would have had. And so, as soon as we get their input, we will then make the final bill draft, I should say, go to the public before I take it to the House in October. It will not impact the upcoming parades because it takes time to put an authority together. You just don't go and pick people off your fingers. You got to, the authority has to come together. They have to properly plan to be able to organize itself. You have to find a physical location for them to be in, set up themselves, and start preparing themselves for upcoming parades, which will probably be next year, the 26, 27 parades, but it will definitely not impact these upcoming parades.
The JCNP announced on the weekend that all Junkanoo activities will resume as of today, September 4th. However, there are also some unconfirmed reports that the JCNP may look to host its own Junkanoo parades without any government involvement at some point in the future. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back following these commercials.